Rob, let's get this thing going. Last night, both LA basketball teams were in action. The LA Clippers played in Brooklyn and went down, lost that game 100-93. And the LA Lakers played against Houston in Houston and got demolished 128-94. Anthony Davis did not play in that game. LeBron James did, and it didn't matter. So, Rob, let me ask you this, because both teams look bad right now. The Lakers are 3-5, okay? They're 0-5 on the road. The Clippers are 3-4, a better record only because they haven't played as many games. So, which LA team are you most concerned with?
It's not even close. I mean, one team just added a new piece. They got to figure it out. They were on the road against two decent teams. What I've seen with the Lakers, right, who made these changes in the offseason, and I get it, AD didn't play this game, but he played the game. They got blown out, and they've been blown out. 0-5 on the road to start the season? Why? Really? 0-5. Not you went and you lost a couple games. I get it. You're not going to win every game in the NBA. 0-5? Blowouts left and right? Nah, I'm sorry.
They have had a few other players injured as well. Obviously, Anthony Davis is the big one. Rui Hachimura has missed a few games. Taurean Prince missed a game or so. Gabe Vincent's been out. And one of the big ones is Jared Vanderbilt, who's their athleticism on the wing route. He hasn't played yet this season. So they've had a few other injuries, but they still were supposed to have a lot of depth, right?
I thought that's what they did in the offseason.
They still sending pretty decent players out there, and it's not right. Mattering.
And Chris, like I said, like getting blown out and that kind of stuff. Did you expect a blowout in Houston last night? I mean,
no.
Come on.
No, I didn't know AD wasn't playing, but even without AD, I wouldn't have expected a 34-point
blowout
spanking.
Yeah, it's those kind of things that make you wonder about really, and we saw it last year. They got off to a terrible start and still wound up going to the West.
Now they made some changes
Finals.
to get right,
but they
made major changes to get out of that 2-10 hole.
But yeah, it's kind of crazy. Where are you on them?
I'm concerned with the Lakers because of the injuries that probably are coming. Hopefully not, but
we don't want them to happen.
Coming.
But we just got to talk about them. I think it's impossible to talk about the Lakers and not talk about injuries because
and the Clippers too, for that matter.
Right, we know that.
But the Lakers, Anthony Davis, I said it, Rob, Tuesday when he said, "Oh, I'll be out there Wednesday." I said, "Don't even listen to that." I wasn't saying he definitely isn't playing Wednesday, but I said he has no idea.
No, he didn't know.
Because at halftime, had you been able to ask him, "You playing the second half?" He would have said, "Yeah, I'll be good." Right. And he tried it. And then had to go back out. And then tried again and had to go back out. So Anthony Davis, Rob, over the last 3 years has missed an average of 35 games a year. And he's 30 years old. He'll be 31 in March. He's not old, but, Rob, he is at an age where you don't get healthier, right? At best, you maintain, right? You maintain your health. You don't get healthier. So he's going to likely miss a quarter or a third of the season. LeBron has missed an average of 27 games in every year except the pandemic bubble season. And remember, they had a 3-4 month hiatus that year, or he may have missed time then. So LeBron, and he's because he's old, he likely will miss a quarter of the season or so. And they are not good enough to sustain prolonged losses of one of their two best players. Even if one of them's there and the other's not, it's going to be too much. The West is strong. Last night they got blown out by a team that's not even expected to make the playoffs. And so I am concerned with them. The offseason moves they made do not look like they're supposed to look. Rob, they're the worst three-point shooting team in the league. They're the only team in the league shooting below 30% from three.
And that's a terrible sign in this man's NFL, Chris.
Yes, NBA.
Right? In this man's NBA. You got to be able to make threes. You just have to.
They don't shoot the ball well. Now, they'll get better, but they're still going to be probably bottom 5, bottom 10. They're not particularly athletic, and they've got injury issues. So, look, I didn't pick them to win the West anyway, but now they're not looking like a legitimate contender. Now, but I think unlike you, and you tell where you're at, I got concerns about the Clippers too. I don't think this is just, it's 2 games, they got to adjust to each other. I think they got issues, Rob. Where are you at on them?
No, I don't. I think it's going to take time, a little bit of time to get it together with the players they have. If those guys are healthy,
how's it fit?
I just expect, that's what you have to figure out. That's where Ty Lue comes in. And maybe it means Westbrook's on the bench or not, and they can't play all 4 of them together and whatnot. And I get that. And you want to be nice in the beginning, but I think what I love about Ty Lue is he's made changes with that team, Chris, when he needs to. And at some point, he's going to take a look at it and say, no, this just can't work this way. And I need you to do this, and I need you to do that, and that's how it's going to be. We can't just satisfy everybody and it's not working. So I don't think he'll be afraid to make the necessary change that needs to be made.
I do think they could be slightly better than the Lakers, maybe. I got concerns about both teams, to be honest, major ones. I don't think it's going to fit. Now, I agree with you. I think for it to have a chance to work, Westbrook has to go to the bench. And I think that's going to be a tough conversation. Now, maybe he'll accept it like he did with the Lakers. He was a good soldier. He's been a good soldier. But I just think that is a hard blow. This was the place he came last year when he was jettisoned from the Lakers, and he fit in well and played great for them in the playoffs. When Kawhi and PG-13, Paul George, were out, it was Westbrook that carried him. Westbrook took an astronomical pay cut. He didn't really have a choice because nobody else was going to pay him.
I was going to say, where was he going?
$3.8 million this year. This is a guy that's used to making max money. And so I do tend to think he's a good enough guy. I shouldn't say good enough guy. He's a good guy, period. But I think will try it if it comes to that. But I think it's got to come to that, Rob. Because Ty Lue said after last night's game, he said, guys look passive for the second straight game. They're trying not to step on each other's toes. Yeah, they're trying to, I don't want to do what I normally do because I want everybody to get their touches, everybody to get involved. I don't want to play like I'm the only star out here. And so that makes you tentative and passive, and it doesn't work well. So Ty Lue, Rob, said they just all have to be themselves and play their games, and I'll tell them if they're going too far. They can't all 4 play their games together. They can't.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Ty Lue's going to have to make a change.
The main adjustment is Westbrook going to the bench.
All right, so then that's going to have to happen. And Westbrook, if you're at your point of your career, Chris, where he is, and there's only one missing thing that you would want, right? Like your top 75, you've done something nobody was able to do for 40 years. All the other stuff. And you want to be able to win a championship and have people have a much more positive light about you. I just think you just have to acquiesce to it. And we talked about it before. Iverson could have played longer in the NBA. Carmelo Anthony, these guys, I get it. You were the star. Everybody's been, kissing your butt since you were 13 or whatever it was, Chris. And it's hard to face those things. And it's harder to deal with not being the man. But at some point, you got to make a sacrifice.
It's hard enough to fit 3 superstars together. The best big threes or even the best duos are when both the games complement one another. these games don't complement each other. 3 of their big 4, Westbrook, Harden, and Kawhi, have been at their best with the ball in their hands. When Kawhi was in San Antonio after Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker left, guess what? Pop put the ball in his hands. And that's how he played for his latter part of his Spurs career. Then he goes to Toronto. Ball's in his hands to a large degree, and it was great. He won the championship. Clippers, same type of thing. And they were doing it with just George and Kawhi, and it was working to some degree, kind of like Boston with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum when they didn't have a true point. But Harden, of course, has had to have the ball in his hands. And Westbrook, of course, has had to have the ball in his hands. So they can't be themselves. So Ty Lue is going to have to make some adjustments. It'll be interesting to see how soon he does it. I think that's what has to happen. He talked about Rob having Russ at the point and Harden at the 2, but we've seen Harden now last night a few times. Rob, he got wide open catch and shoot threes, and instead of just catching it and shooting it, he took a dribble and sidestepped and then shot it.
Why?
I mean, because that's what he's used to doing. And then by that time, the defender's there. And that's what Ty Lue also had a quote said, we passed up a lot of open shots, and that led to harder shots. But that's my point. Like, that's why Russ at the point with Harden. Harden's just not used to being a catch and shoot guy. And so they got it's a big chemistry experiment. And I think the first step will be eventually, unfortunately, having to put Westbrook on the bench. But, we'll see. They're also old. They also have as much, if not more, injury concerns as the Lakers. So bottom line, I don't think either LA team has a championship in its future this year.